Good morning and welcome to the Mayor's Weekly. We're pleased to be back with you after being away for a couple of weeks. Our producer had some medical matters that need to be taken care of, and that's worked out really good, and we're back in business, and I'm excited about that. We're here just a few days after the 4th of July. I hope you had a good holiday weekend. The weather was somewhat accommodating, but what we've experienced thus far this year, I think, somewhat characterizes the weather. We've had a lot of rain, and it appears it continues, but I think that's probably better than having a drought. But what I want to spend this morning talking about is fireworks in the city of Jasper, and this is driven by some instance over the holiday weekend and communications I've received, and certainly I think it's timely to talk about this and provide information that reflects the rules in the city of Jasper, and certainly don't want anybody to run afoul of the law, because the penalties are on the north side of painful, both from a monetary standpoint and up to and including incarceration, and certainly we want that for no one. But I'm just going to share some information taken directly from the ordinance. If you want to read it and need a copy, you come by, we'll get you the information. But at the very top of this page, fireworks prohibited. Now, over the weekend and reading AL.com, and you can find this in their archives, I think the prohibition of fireworks in municipalities is pretty much standard across the state of Alabama. I can't tell you, I know there have been various pieces of legislation that have passed in recent years relating to fireworks, but I think any municipality you were to go to, that you'll probably find a prohibition on the discharge of fireworks, possession in certain cases, and so it doesn't matter if it's a large quantity, a small quantity, if they're potent fireworks or less than potent fireworks. The discharge of those fireworks in Jasper, Alabama is against the law and subject to, like I said, some very harsh penalties if you're found guilty of such activities. So I want to read some things to you, and again, if you have questions, you're welcome to the information that I'm sharing. Now, you see fireworks stands out there. If you drive up Highway 195, right where the highway turns east and north to go to Curry, you see a fireworks stand. That piece of property happens to be in the county. Entirely different set of rules. I don't know that there are any limitations on what you can do with fireworks in the county, but you will not see a fireworks stand, or you will not see a legal operation of selling fireworks in the city of Jasper, because it's a violation of the law. So if you see that and you ask yourself the question, well, why that piece of property is in the county, and consequently we have no jurisdiction over that. But there is a way. But I'm talking about a challenging way, and I give you the information. I think you're going to agree with me. You can apply for a special permit for fireworks, but let's look at some of the things. The manufacture, sale, or discharge of fireworks within the corporate limits of Jasper or within the police jurisdiction is prohibited except under special permits as required by local and state regulations. State Fire Marshal has a hand in this, along with our police chief. Application for permits shall be made in writing to the fire chief or his designated person at least 10 days in advance of the date of the display. After such privilege shall be granted, sale, possession, use, and distribution of fireworks for such display shall be lawful for that purpose only. no permit granted hereunder shall be transferable. And John can't give it to his neighbor Sam, and they shoot firecrackers, whatever. A permit must be obtained from the fire chief or his designated person to manufacture, store, or use any fireworks or pyrotechnic special effects material in connection with motion picture, television, theatrical, or group entertainment production. A permit for use shall be granted only to a competent operator approved by the fire chief or his designated person. A competent operator, well, I grew up in the country and we shot fireworks when I was a child. I don't qualify as a competent operator. Now, here's a big word, and I think I understand this. When binary explosives, now what does that mean? We've seen when we had city fireworks shows, that sort of thing, binary, and you see a cluster of explosives that are constructed on a wood base, and you light a fuse, and that fuse works its way through, and they ignite in unison and that sort of thing. I think that's what it means when it says when binary explosives are used, the compounding and firing is to be done by, listen to this, by a pyrotechnic special effects operator. Again, that's going to require formal training and certification to have that designation. Having a permit from the fire chief or his designated person. Firing is to be subject to the conditions described in the permit, so there could be limitations there. The permit applicant shall pay a permit fee of $25 to the city upon approval or his designated person. Restricted use. Except as hereinafter provided, it shall be unlawful for any person to possess, store, to offer for sale, sell at retail, or use to explode any firework, provided that the fire chief or his designated person shall permit the use of fireworks for public or private displays when all of the provisions, and you have another code. You have the Code of Alabama that governs this, and then you have certain fire codes that govern this. And so you have to comply with those, are met, and after all necessary permits have been issued. Now, so you go to get a permit, one of the conditions to get a permit, and this is a high hurdle. The permit holder shall furnish a bond or certificate of insurance in amount deemed adequate by the fire chief for the payment of all damages which may be caused either to a person or persons or to property by reason of the permitted display and arising from any acts of the permit holder, his agents, employees, or subcontractors. Now you think about if you went out in the open field and your neighbors had pasture land on both sides of you and houses and whatever, to buy a bond that would cover any potential damage, I think, would be huge in the way of a financial commitment. But absent the bond, then certainly your chances of securing a permit are zero. Disposal of unfired fireworks. Any fireworks that remain unfired after the display is concluded to be immediately disposed of in a way safe for the particular type of fireworks remaining. Now, see what our police can do. Seizure of fireworks. The fire chief shall seize, take, remove, or cause to be removed at the expense of the owner all stocks of fireworks offered, exposed for sale, stored, or held in violation of this chapter. Further on disposal. If any fireworks or combustibles are deemed by the fire chief to be in such a state or condition as to constitute a hazard to life or property, said fire chief or his designated person may dispose of such fireworks or combustibles without further process of law. The fire chief is authorized to dispose of any abandoned fireworks or combustibles that he deems to be hazardous to life or property. So, it's clear that fireworks are illegal. It's clear that if you do get a permit, you're going to have to clear some pretty high hurdles. You're going to have a bond. You're going to have to establish your competency and the detonation of fireworks. And then the fire chief has total discretion as to whether or not these conditions have been met in a way that would be a justification for the issue of a permit. So if you have any sort of fireworks display, it seems that 4th of July and New Year's are the time that fireworks are most popular, or it could be other days. But if you have that on your mind, you need to get with the fire chief and determine what the likelihood is of your having a permit. I told some folks just this weekend, don't go down there the day before. The law says you have to apply 10 days in advance. So you're going to be disappointed. You may be disappointed if you apply 10 days in advance, because, like I said, there's some real high hurdles that you have to get across to ignite fireworks in the city of Jasper. So I want to share that information with you. Again, the fines are significant. Also included is a possibility of incarceration. And again, I want that for no one in our city. So if you have questions about fireworks, you let us know. We'll get you with our fire chief, our police chief, and talk with you about the details and the likelihood, once we understand what you want to do, that a permit might be issued. But as I look at this, when you think about a bond that would be adequate to cover the possible damage that could be caused with fireworks, I would think that would be a heavy financial burden to buy such risk management measures. So glad you're with us today, and again, any questions, comments about this, we'd like to hear from you, because we don't want to see you run afoul of the law, but just events of the weekend that caused me to say I need to devote this morning to what the law says about fireworks in our city. So we're glad to be back with you. We'll be back with you next week, and we have some exciting things to talk about as we move into the last part of this fiscal year and the second half of our calendar year. And what we know at this point is fiscal year 2021, which will end September 30th, should be another great year for the city. We're beginning to talk about some projects, things that we want to do, need to do, and are in a position to make those things happen. So it's exciting times in our city. It's always pleasing to see our city do well and be positioned to notch it up. So again, thank you for being with us, and we're pleased to be back with you after being away for a couple of weeks, and we'll look forward to being with you the rest of the year. Hope your day is good.